welcome to episode 1 of the Unreliable Narrator, a brand new pop culture podcast with me, Shabir.
And me, Krish.
Amazing. Today we're talking about anthology TV shows. And because it's such a long conversation, we might split this up into a few parts. What do you reckon?
Yeah, maybe two parts or so, yeah.
Who knows? What is this one about then? Part 1.
So today, we're talking about Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. What is Black Mirror?
What is Black Mirror for the, one person who's listening who hasn't heard of the show? Well, what is Black Mirror, man? You summarise the show for me.
Well, Black Mirror is a British sci-fi anthology show which sometimes has a cautionary tale attached to it.
I feel like a word that people associate with Black Mirror a lot is dystopian.
Yeah, it is quite dystopian, I feel.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But that's what it is essentially. Came out in 2011. Mm-hmm. It was produced by Channel 4, written by Charlie Brooker.
That's right.
And then Netflix bought it for season 3, 4, 5,
onwards,
and so on.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Personally,
do you think it was a bit like when Netflix bought it, it became way more Americanized?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. But for me, personally, I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
Something we've talked about before is America just hit the nail on the head every time with media and production value. Like they're just ahead of the game always with it. So when I heard that Netflix bought the show, but Brooker was still going to be the main writer, I knew that the show would retain its narrative, that drive that it always has through every episode.
Yeah. But
the production value would be upped. So
you're right. I mean,
I was actually quite excited, to be honest.
Netflix.
Exactly.
Netflix got hella money. That's true. But the thing is, I still found it to be a tiny bit more watered down.
Yeah.
Once Netflix bought it and it became sort of more worldwide, it was on a platform now where everybody could access it. It suddenly became a tiny bit different, I feel. Do you think?
Maybe feel like we lost something that was close to like a British show.
It was our thing.
Yeah, it was our thing.
Our little British anthology. I mean, it's still pretty good though.
Yeah.
I like it. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about Black Mirror today. That's Black Mirror. Mm-hmm. That's a little extended
summary of it,
introduction. So I thought I asked you to come up with some of your favourite episodes.
You did, yeah. You asked me to compile a list of my top 5, and obviously the show, you can't just talk about your 5 favourite episodes. I've got some honourable mentions in there, but I've had to
talk about them.
Try my hardest to squeeze 5.
It was a tough one.
Memorable episodes in there.
And you know what? I was saying before about how it became Americanized after season 3, but some of my favourites are post Netflix.
Most of mine are, in the Netflix era of the show. So
yeah.
But like I said, I think that's because of the production value. Like the production value is just crazy, and and Black Mirror is like the idea of each episode is crazy. Like the premise of the show, and for Black Mirror, for me anyway, like the ending of every episode has that like shock factor.
Yeah.
And when you get like a lot of funding for each episode, you can make that shock factor like come to life a bit more, and that's what like season 3 onwards did. That's why I really enjoyed it. So that's why most of mine.
The thing with Black Mirror as well is that each episode takes place in a whole different universe, new characters.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes anthology TV shows do it per season, such as True Detective or what's the other one? American Horror Story.
American Horror Story, yeah. I'm not too familiar with that show.
I've not watched it, but they do it per season, which is cool. But this one is per episode. So you can't feel that pressure to be like, oh, I can't jump into it right now because there's 5 seasons. You can jump in literally season 3, episode 5 if you wanted to.
Have you heard because I know we're both like big fans of the show, obviously, but some people tie together and like pull in different bits of each episode and like, because the writer, obviously, they're all self-contained episodes, but there's like Easter eggs hidden in each episode. Yeah. So do you know any we might talk about them later on, but do you know any that like people pluck out of each episode
I know they do that, but I didn't ever spot any myself.
No, that's fair enough, right?
I probably should have.
Yeah, maybe.
I always say I'm all about the details. I'm so pedantic.
So well researched.
But not really. It's science fiction.
It's just a facade.
Cool stories.
Just a song,
every episode.
Anyway.
But yeah, anyway. Do you want to jump in and talk about...
Let's jump in, yeah. Let's talk about our favourite episode.
I want to say my list, probably the same as yours, not in any particular order.
Yeah, same. Absolutely same.
Yeah.
I couldn't list them in order.
Hard one, isn't it?
It is really hard, man. Do you want to...
see what's on your list.
How should we do this? Do we go through my 5 and then your 5, or should we go, what's the first one on our 5? Then let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think we should do that.
Yeah, we should have decided this before we started recording, but good bit of improvisation.
Exactly.
Chris here.
So go on, I'll start then.
You start. What's yours?
Start. So number 1 on my top 5, in no particular order, is season 2, episode 2, White Bear.
Tell me about White Bear.
So the White Bear episode, from what I recall, it starts with this woman who wakes up in this house and she has amnesia, so she can't remember anything. And then she steps outside. That's what amnesia is, for anyone who didn't know. And then she steps outside and she recognizes that there's people on the street and they're all like recording her. And she goes up to ask them a question and try to talk to them. And then no one answers back.
Okay.
So like, you know, like for me, I'll expand on this in a bit, but this show, when you start to watch Black Mirror, right, you start to think like, okay, what is the ending going to be? What's the twist going to be? You try to predict the ending. For me, White Bear was such an unpredictable ending.
I remember.
And had such a big shock factor that it had to go in my top 5. Okay. So I can't remember every detail of the episode because I watched it years ago, to be honest. But I didn't research this.
That's we started this podcast off with
talking
Black Mirror then.
Yeah, Black Mirror in detail for 30 minutes straight.
Deep dive into a show we've not watched in 10 years.
But yeah, basically, she goes up to these people on the street, and they're completely ignoring her. And then the show kind of goes AWOL from there. She has like people in these masks.
Should we say spoiler alert? Or are you not going to spoil anything? I might spoil some stuff.
I'm going to say spoiler alert because I'm literally going to give you a summary of the episode. Okay. But I'm hoping that anyone listening to this has.
So why? Okay, I want to ask, why is this episode? What is it about this episode that you really liked? Was it just a shock factor at the end? Or?
Yeah, I think the shock factor and just. There's another episode that does this, and it's one in my honorable mentions, but you feel empathy towards this main character, the woman in the show. And then the twist at the end completely turns everything on its head.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I was like, I'm feeling sorry for this woman. She's woke up, she's like clueless, she's lost, she's clearly scared.
And that's what's so good about Charlie Brooker's writing.
Exactly.
The whole episode, you feel sorry for this woman.
He plays on your heartstrings.
Yeah. And it makes you empathize with someone who's actually not that nice.
No, she killed her children. Is the ending of the spoiler alert. She ended up doing something awful and outrageous, and then that's the premise of the show.
That was her punishment for killing her children, is to have amnesia and suffer through this.
Yeah, and do you know what it was? That was the shock factor, right? But even worse than that is this happens to her every single day. Yeah, for the rest of her life. Yeah, exactly. It's like she's a puppet. It's like Groundhog Day, but more violent. And that's how she like pays for her crime. I don't know, man. It's one of those where, is that justified? I mean, if we had the means to do that to somebody, do you think it'd be okay to do it to somebody? That's actually a really tough question, you know, because most of the time philosophical here. That's really philosophical. On the Unreliable. Because if someone ends up doing any crime, commits a murder, that's quite serious, obviously. But any other crime, we just throw them in jail, and that's it. It became essentially like a reality TV show. I don't think that's ethical. No, I don't really think it is. It would never happen in this world. But I think the point of Black Mirror is to show like humanity could end up at this point. So I see it as sort of parallel universes almost, because that's a good way to think of it. You know, every episode has a different sort of rule set. Yeah, that's true. Governing the characters. Yeah. Absolutely. It's not just different characters in the same world. So I see what you mean. Yeah. It is showing us different possibilities. And that's what I think is cool about this show. Anybody can jump in at any episode, any season, and just enjoy a nice, compact story. I've got a question. Okay. So for anyone who's not seen Black Mirror before, if they were to ask you to recommend an episode for them to start on, because obviously they're all self-contained, what episode would you recommend to them? That's a good question. Let's answer that after we talk about our top fives. Yeah. We'll pick one of those and sounds good. Start here. Good jumping off point. I'm going to jump into my top 5. Mm-hmm. I've picked season 1, episode 3, The Entire History of You. Great episode. That's one of my top 5. In this episode, we're in a world where people have implants in their eyes and they can have a remote control where they rewind, fast forward. Not fast forward, that's seeing the future. You know, they can rewind and pause play and all their memories are there. Sound, video, really weird, sort of, but also pretty cool actually to have. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah. Well, the story in this episode is he and his wife go to a dinner party, and he notices some weird behavior between her and another dude. He then stalks that dude. After having a conversation with his wife admits, I used to be in a relationship with that dude. So he goes and stalks him and makes him delete all his memories of every time he and his now wife slept together. Mm-hmm.
And one of those memories, he notices, I think it was a date or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was after our main character already married that woman.
Right. So she cheated.
She was cheating. Mm. And that obviously makes him go a bit loony. And that's, you know what, when you think about technology like this, that is definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
Some loony dudes are going to get loony.
Do you know what's crazy as well? This already happens, but not to that extent, or not to that level, because we don't have that technology yet. We just do this with stalking people on the phones, right? People do this, right?
Always talking about we.
Talking about we.
You're talking about yourself.
I'm talking about this, a friend of mine. But people, it's just true though, right?
But this stuff does happen.
Yeah,
people do stalk each other's phones. And
so this is just up to it to the level of like eye implant technology. Yeah. So
kind of crazy though.
Kind of crazy.
He goes and then faces his wife. And it's like, you know what? If we recommend this to, I just realized if we recommended these, we're also spoiling these.
Yeah, true.
Oh well. But anyway, yeah. So he goes and confronts his wife and says, "You slept with this guy after me and you got married. Did you use a condom?" Because now he's thinking, "Are the kids even mine?"
Right.
Or
yeah.
firstborn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like and it turns out she did not use any protection, and who knows whose kid that is?
Exactly, man.
Maybe it was confirmed that it wasn't his. I can't remember that detail.
Yeah.
But that episode for me was a standout. I feel it was such a simple concept to understand. You know, a lot of these episodes might have very high level sci-fi elements, but this one was like, you have implants in your eyes, you can record everything. He caught his wife cheating. What
bit of that episode then stood out for you? For example, like for me, like we talked about the White Bear episode, and it was the shock factor.
Yeah.
So what part of that? Because like you said, it's quite a simple idea, simple episode, really.
For me, it was the execution of the way the story was told. They introduced you into this brand new world, and specifically brand new tech. And then we dive straight into a very dark sort of situation with this technology.
Right.
And it's a sort of exaggeration of technology nowadays. You know, people can go into like rabbit holes of YouTube videos or Reddit or Twitter or whatever it is on your phone.
Right. That's what I was trying to say. This kind of thing already happens. It's just this is showing like the next level of technology that's happening with.
Exactly. It's what we said. Like some episodes do have cautionary tales.
Yeah.
And with this one, you can draw parallels to our life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I liked. Simple, relatable sort of story.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Solid choice though.
Yeah. What's your second one?
Second one, good quick. Like this is actually kind of follows on from the eye implant thing. Okay. So my second one is season 3, episode 1. This is like we talked about when Netflix bought the show.
Oh yeah.
And for me, this episode was super Americanized because the prior 2 seasons had British actors. I'm guessing it was probably recorded somewhere in Britain. This was like
Manchester.
Manchester. Yeah.
I lied.
No, yeah. Well, this one was like a futuristic world. So Nosedive.
Okay.
It takes place in this futuristic world where people have got eye implants and their phones.
I think this is the first time where it visibly looks like the future.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, this was like a very futuristic looking episode.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's just a bold statement by Netflix saying like, look,
we have money.
We have money. Yeah.
Channel 4. What's your next move?
You didn't. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Who knows? Well,
I don't think it was like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But so yeah, they live in this like really futuristic world. They've got these eye implants and they've got these like, it's like the iPhone 50, like, you know, mobile phone, and people are rating each other online. It's kind of like a Facebook style app. And whenever you just see this, the main character, this woman, and she's out and she's living a fake life kind of basically. It's all, everything she does and everything she posts is just,
oh wow,
it's just for clout.
That's not like real life at all.
It's not like real life though, is it? Yeah, this for me, again, it draws parallels to what already happens nowadays and it's just ramped it up.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked it, because I felt like I have friends and I know people like the main character. So she's out, for example, like in one of like the first scenes, she's at this coffee shop and she snaps a picture of the coffee and she rates the place like, you know, 5 stars, and she gets a free cookie and all this kind of stuff. And then she takes a sip of the coffee and she's like, ugh. She just doesn't even like it. It's just fake.
Literally is like influencers
exactly
today.
Exactly. So yeah, and the point of it is that the interactions that you have with all these different people, and the reason she's being fake is because people rate you and give you a score out of 5.
Yeah.
So if I have a great interaction with you, then you're going to rate me 5 stars.
It's like Uber.
It's kind of like Uber.
A mix between Uber and Facebook or Instagram.
Exactly like that. And
it was a good episode. I actually do remember enjoying it.
For me, it was like a bit scary. That just it felt so real, and I feel like maybe another reason other than Netflix trying to make a bold statement of it being like, production value, super high futuristic world is it tried to not, because you could have made that episode in the world we live in right now, like the settings that we live
with
in Instagram, and that episode would have made sense.
It would be a documentary.
It would be a real life documentary. So they kind of had to make this fake world to like,
I get what you mean. It's
scare
sort of
people.
like exaggerating certain aspects, making it almost fantasy, but also
exactly.
So many details draw parallels to our digital age that we're living right now.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
True.
But also a very good episode. I liked it.
Yeah.
Also, Bryce Dallas Howard was in that episode, and she's an American actress.
Oh, is that the ginger-haired woman?
The main actress.
The main actress, right? Yeah. Yeah, man. So that was my number 2.
Yeah.
Like I said, no particular order. What about you, Shub?
For me, it's Be Right Back.
I can't remember this episode, so you'll have to refresh my memory with this, right? Sell me on this episode.
It was a really sad episode, this one. It was about this guy who lives a lot of his life on social media, right? A lot of everything he says is on there. Enough for someone to take that information and create a clone. Funnily enough, he dies in a car accident, and his grieving partner, wife maybe, goes to this company that takes this data from social media and creates a clone version of him, like emulates his personality. Right. And they're saying it's a trial thing, it might not be as you expect it, but they put his personality into this clone body. And at first it's exactly like how he used to be. And she's
like over the moon, she's gassed.
Even though he's gone, he's still here. But then there's little quirks that are not the same. Little, mannerisms that or behavior that just isn't just exactly how he would be.
Because it's not him.
It's not him.
Right,
it's just stuff he put on social media. And it's also assuming that he put a lot of his authentic self on social media, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's a sad episode where she's kind of coming to terms. It's sort of, this is her way of grieving, but then also not grieving because she's also replaced him with a...
I do remember this episode. This episode was weird as well because she completely treated this clone like, did everything that you would do in a normal relationship with your partner. It's kind of weird.
And what is that? Let's not get into it.
Let's just keep it out.
Yeah, I mean, it has a sad ending as well because when she realizes it's not the same, she then orders this clone robot thing to jump off a cliff. I don't think he does it, and then that he lives in an attic for the rest of his existence. Which probably would be longer than her existence. I think. I can't remember if it was a shorter lifespan or something, but sad episode, and it really stood out to me, and it's on my list.
Fantastic, solid choice there.
Yeah,
man.
Cool.
I'm going to move on to my next one. This is another... So I have 3 episodes, by the way, in my top 5 that are from season 3.
Okay.
Like, for me, season 3 was just such a, standout
I think you
season.
like Americanized TV show.
Maybe that's just because I was, brought up with that, maybe,
Maybe.
And I enjoy,
Do you know what it is?
What's that?
I feel like maybe it's like an age thing.
Yeah.
There's an age gap between us.
Massive age.
An unknown amount. But I think... I might be generalizing here. Your generation probably prefers higher production values and more visual.
I think that's maybe a fair point. We were just brought up with that, right? So
it's just an expectation because you were surrounded by it. I'm not saying that's all you like, but maybe the elevated visuals will, kind of amplified your experience with the show.
Do you feel like for you then, you're like, because obviously visuals have just improved over time with better technology. So for you, is story more key of visuals?
Oh, for me, 100%. Yeah. Always story over.
I feel like yes, same, but
we can talk about this in a separate podcast because
we should.
A lot of my favorite movies are from the past.
You're right.
From a long time ago, before visual effects and before CGI.
Obscure art house films.
Obscure foreign art house films like Jean Wick. But what we'll do is we'll talk about that. But like you said, That's probably why there's a bit of a,
That's what's the difference in our like
separation.
recommendations. Yeah,
Maybe.
Well, who knows? But yeah, cool point. But for me, season 3, episode 2, and it's called Playtest. So this episode was just so cool. The whole premise.
Is this the one I think it is?
Yeah,
video games.
Say again.
The video game one.
It is the video
That's
game.
The one?
Exactly.
Wow, yeah, it's a cool one.
Such a good show. So the premise of the show is there's this young guy. I think he's traveling around the world, and he ends up running out of money, like you would do if you travel the world. So to make ends meet, he ends up finding this kind of like job offer online, and it's at this virtual reality gaming company to be a game tester, like a beta games tester. So he's like, cool, I'll do this. It helps fund my trip. So he goes to the place, and it's super, like high tech, obviously, and he's kind of like ready to sign up to get put into this VR kit and tested and test the game. And then they tell him, you can't take your phone into the test because it might interfere and things like that. So you need to turn it off.
That doesn't sound shady at all.
It doesn't sound shady, right? He just doesn't, he rebels, he just doesn't turn it off. And then he's entered into this into this game, and it's like a horror kind of style game.
Right.
But the weird thing and the cool thing that this game does is that it builds and plays on your fears. So like the things that you fear the most end up popping up in the game.
Okay.
So that's kind of like a weird thing that happens there.
Which is a cool concept.
It's a cool concept, isn't it? Because
I don't know if I'd play something like that because I don't know how my fears will manifest in a video game.
Yeah, and also it's like, that's like a literal you're signing yourself up to like play a nightmare.
Yeah, what if you have a heart attack?
Literally. Yeah, a bit weird. But yeah.
Because my fears are very scary. Student debt.
Well, I'm going to have that
waking up for work on time.
Is that what happens when you reached the age you're at? Those kind of fears.
The unknown age.
Yeah. But yeah, he's ended up in this game, and like for me, one of the cool standout scenes was like he's in this old like manor house, like haunted house type thing. And yeah, he just gets for example, like he's scared of spiders, and then like a huge VR spider pops up, but for him it's just so real, like it doesn't feel like he's in the game.
Yeah,
so everything just feels super real to him, and the whole thing goes on.
Does he know he's in a game at this point? I just forgot.
So I can't. The point of this game is to be super realistic, so he can't really tell if he's in the game or not.
Okay.
But yeah, so what happens is he goes through this game, and it just gets weirder and weirder until he wakes up and pops out of the game, and then realizes the VR thing malfunctioned or something. But I'm trying to succinctly summarize the ending, if that's how you say it. But
what, Lee?
I'm trying to summarize the ending, right? But basically, yeah, he's in this VR set, and then it kind of goes all west.
Yeah.
And he wakes up, and then he's like, oh, I was in a game. He realizes it's like a dream within a dream type thing.
Yeah.
So once he wakes up from that game again, and then he realizes in a game, he pops out of it for real, and the game is ended by the guys doing the testing.
Yeah.
And then they realize okay, he's not actually alive anymore because he kept his phone on at the start.
He kept his phone on him.
He kept his phone on, yeah. And
wow.
They requested, leave it with us or turn it off. And because he didn't, it interfered with the VR set.
Oh no! So it wasn't shady. It was actual advice to save his life.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a cautionary tale for you.
Yeah, there you go. Phones will literally kill you.
Detach yourself from your phone.
Phones will literally end your life.
That's insane. I actually do remember that episode, and I did enjoy it a lot.
It was pretty solid, man.
Yeah, man. My next one is White Christmas. It was a special Christmas episode. It came out after season 2 and before season 3.
That's literally on my list as well. That's
is it?
Yeah, it's my next episode I was going to talk about. Let's talk
about it together.
Yeah, let's go for it.
The story of it starts off in this little cabin, and there's 2 guys talking to each other. And we understand that they have been there together for 5 years, been stationed there for whatever job. And they're just talking about their pasts. And one of them helps people get dates or something, helps them on.
Yeah,
He's
right.
like a dating advice coach.
Guru,
but what he does is he links into their eyes via some cameras. Again, technology.
Eye technology.
Eye technology. He links into their eyes so you can see what they're seeing. And he helps them essentially court women.
Right. Nice way of putting it.
Yeah, gentlemen. That's the story basically.
Right.
And then the other guy, I believe, has a sort of really sour relationship with his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and is not allowed to see his daughter or something. And
Yeah.
that's what. And what she's done, she's blocked. And in this world,
This is the weird bit, right?
They have technology because everyone's got eye implants.
Mm-hmm.
They can blur people. So anybody you don't want
To see
seen
or talk to.
Yeah. You can have them blurred.
Right.
So the daughter is blurred from this guy. Well, there's two guys in the cabin. One's a dating advice guy.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy's got a weird relationship.
Yeah.
Now the one with a weird relationship with his wife, he's not allowed to see his daughter anymore.
Yeah.
So she's a blur to him. And that's the story, essentially. They talk about the past. And then at some point, the blur gets turned off and he sees that that's not his daughter. He and his wife are white
Right.
and the daughter is not.
So
That's one way to check. And that's probably why the blur was on in the first place.
Yeah.
To block him from that. And the other guy.
the dating guru guy. Let's talk about him.
Yeah.
He was an interesting guy.
He's got a job where he steals people's consciences and makes like a smart home system. Is that him or the other guy?
Yeah, no, that's the.
I don't think I'm making this episode very clear for anybody who's not seen it, but
I feel like it is quite a complex story.
There's a lot
You've
going
got
on.
two kind of main storylines going at the same time.
these
really.
two guys are in a cabin and they're talking about their pasts, and their pasts are quite complex and layered and very sort of not good.
Yeah,
They're not good people,
they're not. Yeah.
maybe. But yeah, can't
Yeah, so I was just going to add to the point you were talking about, like he's like a dating advice guru, right?
Oh yeah.
So I've got like you mentioned he stores the consciousness.
That's a side job.
Yeah, that's the side
That's
job.
his main job even.
Yeah. But just like the concept of what he does is kind of creepy and kind of cool. So yeah, he's making like these artificial copies of his client's consciousness, and then he puts them into these like bean-sized chips that he calls cookies.
Like an Alexa or something.
Kind of like that, yeah. That he calls cookies. And then you're right, they're like smart home systems.
So to simplify that for anybody who's finding it hard to follow, because we're not good at explaining things, this guy, he sells smart home upgrades, right? And the way he upgrades a smart home is whoever hires him, they willingly give up their consciousness to him,
Right.
which is like an AI copy of their entire personality, their soul essentially.
Yes, that's so.
He puts it into a chip, and that person who's in the chip, they get forced to run this home
They become like a personal,
like a slave,
smart home system.
and if they don't want to do it, they get tortured. They get left in isolation because in this, software, you can make them experience 1,000 years of solitude if you wanted to torture them, break them down until they play along with your madness. And so these copies then run all the electronics in your house, make your coffee, open your blinds, turn your lights on. But it's so dark that this essentially a soul, an electronic soul copy of a person gets tortured for thousands of years until they comply.
And do you know what's creepy as well? It's like when we have like the Alexa and the Google HomePod and all that kind of stuff now.
Yeah,
it's trying to emulate like an actual PA. Like that's his job, isn't it? Like to speak to you and to ask you. You've got to, it's like calendar updates for this or weather updates for this.
Yeah,
it's kind of creepy. Like, and Brooker does this in almost every episode, right? He plays on.
Brooker is the writer of the show
yeah.
for anybody who's wondering.
Yeah, and he's taking current tech that we're all familiar with, and he just ramps it up to the next level.
Adds like a sinister
twist to it, right?
A sinister exaggeration, even.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. I like that. But for me, that's what makes the show so good and so creepy and so real
and so outstanding as well. Like when I first watched any of these episodes, but in particular maybe White Christmas, I was so blown away by something that it was in his mind, that whole you take away someone's personality, put them in, and if they don't comply, you can change the time settings and make 1 minute equal 10,000 years or whatever.
It's just crazy.
And you leave them there, for us it's been 30 seconds. And that little electronic version of this soul, for them it's been 1,000 years.
They're just suffering,
And it really pushes people to their mental, well, I say people, these electronic souls to their mental limits, and they have to then be slaves. We're creating slaves. Wow.
Crazy episode, man.
I know. But it was, again, the way the stories come together and the narrative sort of meet at the end, it's really well written. In fact, all of these episodes,
All of them are. Yeah.
Even the ones that are not on my list are very well written.
Yeah.
That's just what makes the show stand out, I guess.
So when you were like compiling this list, what things were you looking for? Like going through the episodes and like refreshing your memory. What parts of each of the shows made you go like, yes, this is going to make the list?
The first thing was, what episodes can I remember that stand out to me?
Right.
Whatever episode is my favorite, or whichever are my favorite, will already be in my memory.
Yeah.
Right. So there were Be Right Back, the clone boyfriend husband, the guy who has the memory eye chip thing and he sees his wife cheating. That was in my mind.
Yeah.
That's a crazy episode. And a few others I've not mentioned yet. But White Christmas was on there. I think for me, what stood out, or the episodes that stood out the most, were the most torturous concepts, like the most sadist.
Not sure what that says about you, but
Yeah. I seek sadness. But that's the kind of episode that always, I guess, drew me to the show more. And there is a lot of that in the show.
Fair enough.
But yeah, there you go. Should we move on to the next?
Yeah. So this is actually my final episode on the list.
Okay. I've got two more.
Have you got two more?
Because this was my number three.
Right. Okay.
Should I do my one?
Yeah. Let's go for yours, and then we'll bring it back to mine. Yeah.
So next on mine is San Junipero, which was the first one I thought of. That was the first episode I remembered, and the only one I wanted on my list. If there was a top one, that would be there, I guess.
Why is that?
That's my number one. Do you know what it is? San Junipero, aesthetically, just fits my vibe.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, for anyone who doesn't know you, it's your vibe in a nutshell.
I love the 80s aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of 80s in this, which we find out later is obviously fake. But 80s aesthetic, sound effects, sound design, it's all in there. The storyline I found to be wholesome and surprisingly happy for a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, maybe that's why it didn't make my list. Maybe. Because I also, like you, like those torturous, like we both had White Christmas on our list, right?
Yeah, true.
And this was just completely different.
But I think different worked, especially with this story.
Yeah.
If this was sad at the end, it
wouldn't work, right?
It'd just be like such a pointless story to tell, because it's like, why are we okay? There's a lot of relationships that don't work out. I don't need to watch a sci-fi show about this sort of thing. Maybe, I don't know. But San Junipero, it's a story about these two women that meet in seemingly the 80s, right? Turns out they're in an artificial, augmented, virtual reality.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Virtual reality.
Well put.
And they're actually old people in the future. And this is how they spend their remaining years, is in this virtual reality, living out their lives. And I just like the episode because it looks good.
Do you ever think, like, because VR is getting better and better, right? There's just no doubt. Like, you've got the Oculus Rift and stuff. Right now, it's like, it's a gaming tool, right? You play games on it and stuff. If that's something that you could do in the future, like relive the best parts of your youth, when you're like old, is it something you do?
I don't know, because at every stage that I'm at in life, I'm always happy there. If that makes sense.
That's a good thing, though. That's actually really good. A lot of people aren't like that.
Not complaining.
Yeah, not complaining.
What I mean is, well, in addition to what I just said, nostalgia is a key theme throughout my life.
Nice.
The games that I play, if I do play video games, are on my Nintendo, on my PSP, which are old systems, a Nintendo DS, I should say, or Game Boy. If I watch movies, I always watch movies when I'm in a mood where I want to be, a comfort sort of zone. I always watch stuff from the past. Jurassic Park.
For you, is being where you are right now, but like having that nostalgic feeling, do you prefer that over like, I wish I was actually back as a kid when the PSP came out or the DS came out?
Yeah, I don't want to be
these
back
films
there.
came out. You don't want to, right?
My life is dope, and I do dope shit.
Yeah.
Right now, but I also enjoyed moments from my past.
Yeah.
And that's why I said nostalgia is a key theme throughout my life.
Right.
But it is just a theme. I don't think I want to relive any moments in that way where you're actually back in that space and time.
That's fair enough.
It would be cool.
It's a cool concept, though, isn't it? Yeah.
It would be cool, I think. But yeah. That's my summary of the episode, I think. I don't want to spoil too much because I feel like if I had to recommend one episode, remember we said before.
For you, would this be
I
like
think
one of those ones?
would be one of them.
Right,
or the episode I'd recommend.
That's fair. I feel like of the ones we've talked about so far, the one I'd probably recommend the most is Nosedive. if I'm honest.
That's a good one as well.
It's a great, like, if you want to sum up what Black Mirror is like, I think Nosedive does that really well in an episode. So yeah, for me, Nosedive, and for you, San Junipero.
Yeah, do you know what's funny as well?
What's that?
Nosedive is season 3.
Yeah.
San Junipero is season 4. It's a Netflix
It's all,
era.
yeah, Netflix.
Yeah. But I think that, hey,
What do you think that says about?
what that says is that I'm being a hypocrite. But no, what it says is that, you know, there were obviously
leveled up the game.
there was obviously really good episodes
Yeah.
post Netflix too. I'm not saying it went downhill. It was Americanized. Maybe not such a bad thing all the time. For anybody who's listening and has made it to this point and wanted a recommendation for a jumping off point, Nosedive season 3 and San Junipero season 4.
That's right.
But yeah.
Yep. And that Nosedive, by the way, is season 3, episode 1. So it's the first episode of season 3.
And San Junipero is, you know what? San Junipero is season 3 as well.
Is it?
Season 3, episode 4.
Perfect.
There you go.
So my final episode on the top 5 list is just another great episode, man. It's season 3, episode 5, and it's called Men Against Fire. Now this one,
I think I remember this one.
yeah, it's like a war-based episode.
Yeah.
So it's these soldiers, and basically they have to kill these like cockroach kind of weird mutilated creatures that they have to kill.
I think the sense we get is they're on an alien planet.
Yeah,
they're being invaded by aliens.
Yeah, you can't tell, but like you mentioned, like throughout Black Mirror, it's this like parallel universe sort of setting in each one.
Yeah.
Like it isn't in this world, but in like a parallel world, right? So yeah, these soldiers, they've got these like implants that are in their brain, these neural implants, and it enhances all of their senses. So they're like super soldiers, basically, right? So they've got better vision, like aimbot in their eyes, and yeah, it's just turning them into super soldiers. And they've got one task, and that task is to just completely wipe out these roaches. And what you find is this main character, he's called like Soldier Stripe or something like that. What happens is something happens along the way where that implant device, it completely gets like jammed or messed up or disrupted, and from that point onwards he starts kind of like malfunctioning because the implant is literally attached to your brain, and he doesn't see these roaches anymore. It starts glitching out, and he sees them as people. He sees them as human beings.
What a plot twist.
Yeah, so the what the kind of story is about is the implant that this government has put into their soldiers is making them think they're killing these weird creatures for the betterment of their country or whatever, but really they're killing innocent people.
Yeah.
And obviously you can draw like whatever parallel you want to that in this world that we live in with the soldiers that we have and the things that they're told to do and fight for, right?
Some foreign countries are dehumanized and some foreign people are dehumanized in order to justify war.
Yeah, right.
It just got deep.
It did. But like, I think that's what that episode does. And so, yeah, it kind of is like maybe a bit political, but I just think the storyline was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And I feel like...
Did you, be honest here, did you predict that ending?
No.
Can I say that I did?
Yeah, you can say that I did. And I think the reason maybe you did is like, you just consume more like TV series, films than me.
Maybe.
So maybe over the course of like you watching more, you've just...
Maybe not a good thing. Maybe. Well, it was one of those where... I'm not the only one, by the way.
Right, yeah,
Pretty sure that Twitter and Reddit said the same thing, but...
Yeah. I feel like... Can I just add as well?
It was a really good episode.
Yeah. Compared to something like White Bear, which I keep going back to, which had a really outrageous ending, this one, I don't think like the point of it wasn't meant to be like a shock ending. The premise of the whole show set in quite early. That guy's neural implant malfunctioned early on. It's
almost sort of... The seeds are planted there for you to work it out.
Yeah.
So it's not the shock of the twist, it's the shock of the fact that this is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. So yeah, that was just why it was on my top 5 list. Just a fantastic episode. You can draw a lot of parallels to the kind of world we're living right now. But yeah, just good execution.
That's your top 5.
Yeah, that's my top 5 done.
Nice. I've got one more left on mine.
What's that then?
Season 4, episode 1, USS Callister.
Nice.
Not a surprise to you, I guess. No,
definitely not. Yeah, huge sci-fi fan. Yeah.
USS Callister is sort of a homage to Star Trek, the original Star Trek. The story follows a guy who works in a video game company, and in his spare time, because he's a bit of a weirdo, this guy. He doesn't really speak. He's one of those outsiders, and doesn't talk to anybody. And what he's done is he's got these bits of DNA from his colleagues and inserted it into virtual reality, into a game that he's created, which emulates Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like the leader in this. And when you see his character in this, and you compare it to his character in real life, complete polar opposites.
Yeah.
But he's obviously forced everyone to respect him as a leader in this virtual reality. But they're all sentient. It's very similar to White Christmas.
Right, the story and the consciousness part of
he's used the DNA to steal consciousness without their permission.
Consent. Yeah, there's no consent.
And he's created this weird fantasy world where he's the boss, and everyone against their will has to follow his lead. And eventually they
clock on, right?
I think they know, but they have no power to do anything.
Right.
Until the latest person, this woman, she decides to blackmail him somehow.
Right, yeah.
She gets something on him, blackmails him into releasing them from this private server that they're on into, and in the process of doing that, he gets trapped. And then in real life, he's a motionless vegetable. Is that...
Yeah, I'm not sure you can say that. No, actually, I think you can, like, vegetative state. I think you say that.
That's what I meant. Anyways.
Just called him a vegetable. The guy turned into a cabbage.
But he is, motionless.
Yeah. So like, obviously, other than like the fact it is, paying homage to Star Trek, what other part did you really like about that?
Really, all it was, hey, this is like Star Trek.
Oh, so it was more of like a fanboy type thing.
Yeah, I guess
kind of.
But I like the story as well.
Yeah, the story was good. I do remember it.
The woman that he adds in last to this little virtual reality, she's the one who rebels.
Yeah.
And she's the one who finally figures out how to get everybody out and,
save the day.
Save the day. I like that story. It's a cool story.
It's a very like traditional story, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Like,
I like that story.
Yeah.
But I also like the setting, the Star Trek-y.
That's a solid choice, man.
And I don't feel like that episode will make it onto many people's lists, maybe.
No, I think it might not. Of our list, what do you think, like, people would have on there and probably wouldn't have on there? So you've already said USS Callister. Right, what other episode is on your list that you think maybe this isn't a fan favourite?
I think the rest of them are fan favourites.
Yeah.
I feel like the other ones that I've chosen are quite... They're too...
Do you think San Junipero as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think maybe. I'm not actually sure. I'm just asking what you think about that.
I think it appeals to a broad taste. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think USS Callister is the only one that's like super nerdy and maybe doesn't... Maybe, I don't know. The show is a sci-fi show.
It's a sci-fi dystopian
The audience
show,
is there.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's my top 5. That's your top 5. That's Black Mirror.
There you go.
That's our first episode of the Unreliable Narrator. How do you feel?
It was so much fun. It was good fun. Right? This is a conversation we would just have on a regular weekend.
Yeah.
And we've just decided to record it. Yeah, because we've got interesting lives.
Yeah, that's what we do. On Friday when I finish work, I ring up Chris. Like, hey,
talk about Star Trek.
Get a list together, mate. We're going to talk through it. But anyway, episode 2 of our anthology conversation is going to be on Inside Number 9.
I can't wait for that one.
So if anybody is a fan of that show, stay tuned for that. Yeah. If anybody is listening now who's not heard of it, you might want to, tune in next time because it is worth, exploring. But thank you for listening to our debut podcast with me, Shabir, and
me, Krish.
That wasn't even rehearsed. That was just freestyled. But subscribe, follow, and join the conversation.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.